About a month ago, I came out with a video talking about my sports card addiction. Today is the 30-day follow-up. Stick around. All right, guys, I'm about 30 days out from when I made my initial video just talking about some of the issues I was having on the buying side, my sports card buying addiction that had really gotten out of control and was really starting to affect my family life. And while I would say 95% of the feedback was very positive and supportive, I did get some pushback from a few different areas, and I thought that it was really good feedback, and I wanted to address some of it. So there is a channel that I watch quite a bit that I would recommend, and it is Carlos at Because I'm Carlos YouTube channel, Sports Card Talk, Hobby Talk channel. I've been watching him really for years now. How can I describe my relationship, I guess, with Carlos? Maybe like a hobby frenemy? We're sort of friends. We're sort of enemies. It's kind of like a back and forth thing. He's been on my channel before. I've been on his channel before. We have mutual hobby friends. I do respect him as a longtime collector and really as a content creator. He is entertaining. Now, when it comes to my content, he has made it clear that he's not really entertained by it. He doesn't really get much from as far as information goes. And that actually makes sense because we don't really collect a lot of the same things. And also I'm doing a very set style of content with some different things mixed in, but for the most part, it's newsy type stuff. He does a little bit of that himself. And so you're either on it or you don't like it, and that's fine. I kind of look at him as almost like the RottenTomatoes.com of the hobby content world, or just the hobby world in general, a critic, if you will. And so kind of like how horror movies, scary movies, the critics never like the scary movies. I almost feel like that's kind of a decent analogy here. The audience score might be 80%, but the critic score on Rotten Tomatoes is 10% or 12%. That's kind of how I view Carlos when he comes out and he reviews my stuff or he talks about my stuff. Totally fine. And I like it actually because he did mention recently, sometimes folks get into an echo chamber like myself, where you do get a lot of positive feedback. You do get a lot of positive comments. And a lot of times, maybe if someone watches a video and they have a negative takeaway from it, they might not put it in the comments. They just might not ever watch it again. Or they might, just talk to their buddies about it or whatever. And so when I do get feedback like his and from others, and so when I made my addiction video, there was some banter on one of his live streams about kind of addiction versus just irresponsibility. And I totally understand that, actually, because I think it can be a fine line. And so one of the people on his panel, I would call it, is Eric. And Eric, from what I understand, has professional experience on this particular subject. And so as I go back through that conversation, what's the difference between blowing your budget and getting into a jam? You do it once and make sure it doesn't happen again. And then also it's something where it has negative consequences. That was kind of the big takeaway, negative consequences. And then you kind of continue on, you double down, triple down, even though there's negative consequences. A lot of times people think of, drug, alcohol for these sorts of things, but he also mentioned cards can be a part of this too. And when I thought about it, of course, breaking and kind of the sports gambling side of it comes to mind immediately, because you do have people that get into breaks, they're trying to double down, triple down. And so for me, I didn't really think of it like that. Oh, I'm just, I'm not getting into breaks. I'm just buying cards. So when I was listening to this feedback, I went back to my original video and watched it again. And I realized that one kind of a component of that conversation that was left out, this is part of the problem with, my shtick is 10-minute videos. So sometimes there are details that are missing. This was kind of a needed detail, I think, based on what he was saying, because this was kind of construed more of like, you blew your budget, you looked at it on an annual basis and realized that, it was a problem. The part that I missed on kind of disclosing was we had conversations leading up to this point. Those conversations with my wife and I were not positive. It was like, hey, do you have this covered? Do you have that covered? And not that I didn't have bills paid to buy cards, but these were negative interactions. These were, hey, can we slow this down a little bit? Do we have this in check? Are you saving money here? Are you doing this? And I was kind of like, yeah, we're all good. We're all good. And then we got to the annual meeting, looking at all the budget. And then it was like, whoa. this is not what we had discussed completely. And so that was a detail that really should have been in to give more of a full picture. I made a follow-up video kind of talking about my issues with nicotine in my 20s and just how that became such an issue. I could never be a social smoker. It just turned into I was buying packs of cigarettes, not packs of cards. Packs of cards probably would have been better than cigarettes back in my 20s. But so I have kind of a history of an addictive personality. So I was trying to tie it all together there and probably didn't do an amazing job at it. So I wanted to kind of clarify that. So I thought, because I'm Carlos' channel, came back with some good feedback. I wanted to address that, wrap it in with this video in case there were question marks around it. And again, I think that there's probably open debate. There will still be people that are like, hey, still you're an idiot and you're irresponsible. That's fair enough. And that's open for debate. And so again, I appreciate Carlos's feedback there. It's always good to get different sides of a conversation, an argument, different opinions on things. It's helpful, I think, for viewers and for people that are looking in on particular subjects. And so that's always a good thing. Definitely check out his channel. It is Because I'm Carlos. I'll put a picture or something up here so you can see it. All right. And so one big shift that I've done as far as budget goes is just moving money to different places. So the way that it was before is that, money comes in, I've got disposable income, and then it just kind of like goes out, right? For a variety of different things, not even just cards. Now we've kind of upped the communication, as far as really every dollar that comes in now, I'm probably over communicating a little bit to my wife and just sharing like, hey, this is where this is going. This is where that is going. I'm paying extra principal on the mortgage. I'll send her a screenshot of that. Now, does she believe that I paid it? Yeah, but I'm just kind of going above and beyond so that she sees it. Okay, I'm paying extra principal on the mortgage. Send that over to her. I'm paying for this or for that. This is where it's all going. The first way we're kind of tackling it is just over communicating. I've also taken over a few bills as well that are automatic pay. So whereas there's just that disposable income just shows up there in the bank account, it's just not there. It's like money in, money out, for things. And then that way it's not just sitting there waiting to be spent. It just goes somewhere else. And so that's very helpful. Also, I have bought cards. So, initially when I talked about this, I said, hey, cold turkey is the best way to do this. And for the most part, it has been the 3 cards that I've gotten in January. The one I had already talked to, I talked about it going back to when I made my first video. I had committed to it already. I had talked to her about it. She thumbs up there. And so this was a Drew Brees flawless numbered out of 5. This is one at the end of December. I told the guy, hey, I'll pay this with my next paycheck, type thing. I told her about that. She's like, yeah, absolutely. Follow through on that. So that was one that I got a couple weeks ago. If I do collect Stranger Things cards. And for the rare stuff that pops up, you just don't see it pop up very often. I don't have the eBay app on my phone. I have deleted that off. So that takes away some of that, the temptation part. I still do have it on my laptop and I do check really every day or every other day for Stranger Things autograph cards just to see what pops up and just, using self-control as to what's rare, what's not, price points, this and that. This was a card of Will Byers Series 2. It is the blue auto numbered out of 10. It popped up on eBay. You can see there it's numbered out of 10. I'd never seen this card before. The ones that are numbered out of 10, you've got purple out of 25, you've got green out of 50, and you've got orange out of 99. So that was one where I went to her. I talked to her about it. I said like, hey, look, this is not a card that comes up very often. There's a buy it now or best offer. I told her, hey, I'm looking to offer this, which was about 50% of the asking price. What do you think? She gave me the green light on it. And so we did it. It was more, I think, about just communicating it to her. And, so it was a green light there. But I haven't asked her about any other cards outside of that one. So it's kind of limited to if something very rare pops up that you don't see very often, let's have a conversation. I mean, look, there's a lot of rare Stranger Things auto cards right now on eBay that are very expensive that we're not having conversations about. If it's $5,000, $10,000, there's those sitting on eBay right now. We're not having conversations about those. So it's kind of, if it's within kind of a workable price point range, then, we'll have a conversation. I did pick up another card last week and I'll kind of explain the scenario around that. Select Tom Brady PSA 10 Maroon Prism 2019, the year before they kind of blew it and went all in on hobby and retail for Select football. But cool card. And the reason why I was able to get this is the channel did add 2 sponsors. There's 2 new sponsors that are going to start next week. It's Game Day Legends will be our exclusive sports memorabilia. sponsor. And then we also have DC Sports 87 coming on as well. So I was kind of using that as like, hey, can I, as a reward, type thing. And she was on board with that. So I think that the biggest thing is just over communication for us right now. And it's worked out fine. Now, look, am I tempted at times? Of course, absolutely. But I think the one big thing was just killing the habit of every time it's payday and the money hits, or leading up to payday, where it's like, oh, if I commit to an offer on something on the Wednesday, then if I get paid on a Friday, then I can then pay for that card. I've gotten out of the habit of getting set up to buy cards when payday's coming around. I think that's helped. That's a habit that really had to be broken, and literally a habit that's been going on. I've been buying cards every week going back for a couple of years now. So I look at that as it's very habitual. And so it was something that I needed to get under wraps. So that's kind of where we are. This is the 30-day follow-up. And the reason why I made this video is because I had such a huge ask, to do these types of videos. Hey, keep us in the loop on what's going on. I had so many people, like a zillion people, that commented on it. Hey, I'm in the same boat. And so just trying to communicate to you all, part of YouTube is figuring out what are people going through, trending topics on YouTube that are popular. I feel like it's important to talk about those things, and that was one where I got very positive feedback on it to do more of it. And it's a topic that should be taken very seriously, and we will continue on with it. Guys, have a great week ahead. Stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.